They say grief has a way of playing tricks on the mind. But for David, it was more than just a trick. It was a Tuesday late, the kind of night where the highway seems to stretch into forever. He was driving home from a shift that ended 3 hours too late, tired down to his bones. The cabin of his car was filled with nothing but the low, hypnotic hum of the tires against the asphalt. Then the static started. But it wasn't the usual white noise you get between stations. It had a rhythm, a cadence, like someone was trying to speak through a thick wall of glass. David reached for the dial, but before he could touch it, a sound broke through that stopped his heart. It was Sarah, his wife. She'd been gone for 2 years, but he'd know that voice anywhere. At first, it was just fragments. Little jokes they had, memories of their first tiny apartment. It felt like a gift, a second chance to say the things he'd left hanging in the air when she passed. He was actually smiling, tears blurring the road ahead. For a moment, she was right there with him. But as he turned onto his gravel driveway, the tone of the broadcast shifted. The warmth vanished. Her voice turned sharp, urgent. It started crackling with a static that sounded almost like a scream. "David," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the roar of the interference. "Don't go home tonight, please, David. Don't go inside that house." He killed the engine. The silence that followed was heavy. He thought it was just the grief talking, a cruel trick of a tired, broken brain. He didn't want to believe he was losing it, so he ignored her. He stepped out into the cold night air, his heart heavy with a different kind of fear. He reached the porch, turned the key, and stepped through the threshold of his home. The house was silent. Too silent. It was the kind of quiet that feels like it has teeth. The air felt thick, heavy, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath, waiting for him. He walked into the kitchen, his hand trembling as he reached for the light. That's when he saw them, leading straight from the back door and disappearing into the shadows toward the attic stairs. But they weren't Sarah's footprints. David knew her stride, her shape. These were different. They were tiny, sharp, and they definitely didn't belong to anything human. He realized then that grief hadn't blinded him to a ghost. It had blinded him to a guest that was already inside. David thought he wanted a second chance. He was wrong. Be careful what you listen for in the static. You might just find what's listening back.